So you may notice when you're watching a lot of the top pros, the really good ball strikers out there, as their club starts the downswing, it starts to flatten out a little bit. In this video, we're going to talk about why you want to flatten the club out a little bit, what kind of plane you want that club coming down, and how this is going to give you a bit more power. But before we do that, let's take a look at Ben Hogan doing this move in action so you can see it from one of the greatest ball strikers of all time.
All right, so before we get started with the actual lesson, let's take a look at Hogan himself doing this move. Very common move. A lot of times what you'll see players that are struggling is in the downswing, they're going to start to have this club coming over the top. We're coming in steep into the ball, and our club path is just way out in front. If you're struggling with this, this would be a great video for you. When you're watching a lot of good players, what you'll see happen a lot of times, as they go to the top, they're going to start to flatten out that club shaft as they begin their downswing. So look at the end of Hogan's backswing here. We'll go one more frame. We can see this is the club angle. And when he starts his downswing, so he's going to continue to go to the top. We'll see the club reach a little past parallel as he was. And then as soon as he starts down, what you're going to notice is that that club shaft immediately flattens out. So there, look how the club head, you can see a little black dot kind of right here in between his forearms and his shoulder. That's the club head. Watch how it starts to flatten out slightly as he starts down. Yeah, there we can see that that shaft is dropped a good 10 degrees. Now, why do good players do this? Why do you see good players do this? And I picked out Hogan here because he does it a bit to the extreme. Ricky Fowler, Sergio Garcia would all be players that are really flattening out that shaft a lot in the first half of the downswing. Well, we do this to be able to use the hands and arms to release that club with a lot of whipping action. So as he continues down here, let's go on down a couple more frames. Now we can see this club is really into a very, a very flat position. From here, if he was to keep on swinging, that club would be going on out to the right. If he just let the momentum of the arms and the hands roll on over and release, and the momentum of the hands and arms and club right now are going out toward this bush over here, well, that's going to lead to a bit of a block. Or if we roll the hands pretty hard, that's going to lead to a hook. That's why he struggled with a hook a lot, which is the exact opposite problem that a lot of mid to high handicapper players are struggling with. So this is a great feeling for mid to high handicapper players, or players that are over a let's call it a 5 or 6 handicap or higher. Most of those players, just in general, I'm not saying that everybody's doing that, but a lot of those players are coming in a little bit too steep, and feeling like you could flatten it out like this would tend to get that path and that club moving more to the right, which would be great. Now from here, we talked about Hogan. People talk a lot about getting the hands and arms to feel like you're swinging left through contact, and then you got to roll these hands. So that's exactly what he needs to do from this position, is to really feel like he rolls the hands over. So if you can imagine the hands and forearms is turning a doorknob to the right. Now as he comes through, watch these hands start to roll on over. Now the palm of the right hand, instead of facing up to the sky, is pointing toward the target. And then a couple frames past, the palm of the right hand is going to be pointing kind of over to the left a bit. So we can see now how, draw a line on here, how this palm is facing over here. And earlier in the swing, it was facing more up toward the sky. So he's really rolled the hands quite a bit as he felt like he was swinging to the left to get that club to release and to square everything up. So this is a great feeling for those of you who are struggling over the top. You're struggling with a little bit of a fade or a slice. This would be perfect for you. If you're a player that tends to hit those blocks and hooks, be careful doing this. You may already be doing this move enough. This is typically a lower handicap professional golfer's move, so don't try to exaggerate this even more if you don't fall into that category. So now let's go ahead. I'm going to show you how to flatten this out just like the pros. I'll give you some great drills to work on this.
All right, so first let's talk about how we're going to get this proper plane so we can see the angle that we want to come down on. If you go ahead and set up to your driver, I'm going to shoot the camera down my feet, down my toes, and out toward where I want to go in the distance. Now, if I draw a line from the hosel of my club up through the bottom of my elbow, that's the plane line that my club should be traveling on as it's coming through contact. That's exactly where the club needs to be traveling for me to hit a nice square on plane shot. So once we have that up, as we go to the top of the backswing, what should be happening is this club is going to go above this plane line and pretty much be parallel to that. As you're making a full swing, it's just going to basically be on that plane line and then raising up and not really changing angles a whole lot. As we start down, as we mentioned, in the Hogan analysis, we want to really start to get that club a little bit flatter and slightly under this plane line to really load up the shaft and to be able to get a lot of lag. So if you're looking at me from this direction, one of the reasons that you see so much lag in a lot of the pros is they're maxing out their wrist set. This is straight up and down like this. And then what's happening is you're seeing it when it's flatter at an angle, and it appears to have much more lag than it would if it was straight up and down. So there's two things that are happening. They are increasing their wrist angle a little bit, but they're also flattening out the shaft to give it the appearance that it has slightly more lag than it really does. So when we're doing this from down the line, I want to focus in on a couple things. Number one, I want to feel like my shoulder, my right shoulder as I'm starting down, starts to externally rotate. Now I don't have a lot of external rotation in my shoulder. This is as far back as I can get my arm, so my elbow may stick out a little bit. The second piece of that is going to be my wrist, my forearm needs to rotate to flatten that club out. So this will be straight up and down. My forearm is going to be flattening this club out as I start down. And the same thing's happening with my left arm. My left shoulder, my upper arm, my humerus, and then my forearm is rotating a little bit flatter as I start down. So that's this move. I'm going back. As I start down, it's flattening out slightly. I'm getting slightly underneath this plane. And if you look kind of as I'm coming down, almost getting closer to halfway down, you're going to see this is kind of matching up with my forearm. So the angle of the shaft and my forearm are matching up. And then from there, I'm going to be in a position where I can really release that club. So as we started the downswing, we felt like we turned the doorknob to the right. It flattened out a little bit. Upper arm, lower arm, upper arm, lower arm on my right, both right and left arm. That got the club flattened out. You can see that this club itself is working down with my hands a little bit inside. Keep in mind my body is rotating open at this point. So as my body's starting to rotate open, that club is flattening out. Then once I'm on that forearm line or pretty close to it, I can't really tell without making a full swing here, but once I'm pretty close to that, then from there, I'm going to go ahead and release that club by turning those arms to the left and getting the club to whip through there. So that's going to look something like this. Now I've got a good angle of lag here. I'm really ready to boom, release that and let that whip on through. And the club's actually going to steepen up as it's coming down on plane. You don't want to go overboard with this. You don't have to get crazy with this, but for those of you who are coming down a little bit over the top, you keep getting steep, you keep chopping down into the ball, this is exactly what you need. Step number one is going to be to flatten it out. Step number two is going to be to release it. If you want to see another player that does this really well, take a look at Sergio Garcia from down the line. He does this a bit to the extreme. I wouldn't recommend going that much. I used a couple players here that are kind of on the extreme, Hogan and Sergio. But if you do that, that's going to get you on plane, and then bam, you can really release that club on through there. What I want you to do now is 100 repetitions. I want you to go to the top, and I want you to flatten out that plane and pause as you're about halfway down. I want you to see that club plane a little bit inside of the plane line we drew from the hosel to the bottom of the elbow. And then from there, I want you to release that club and work on releasing everything. And as you're about waist high, where this club's parallel with the ground, I want that face all the way up and down. Right? So I don't want you to go ahead, flatten this club out and then block it out to the right like that. That's going to give those big blocks that go way to the right. I want you to go ahead and flatten the club out and then bam, release it till the toes straight up and down, or even a little bit more turned over, so that you're making sure you're releasing that speed and releasing that lag. If you do this properly, going to get a ton of whip through the club, get a lot more action. For those of you guys that are coming over the top, this is a perfect video for you. So if you do that properly, let's go ahead and try it out, and we'll see if I can rip one right down the middle of the fairway. There we go, nice high, hard hit ball just down the right center of the fairway. Work on flattening that club out, releasing that club, you're gonna get some more speed. Good luck to you guys. All right guys, so I hope y'all really enjoyed this video. If you did, I got a fantastic bonus for you. How would you like to have more lag in your golf swing? We know it's crucial to getting more distance and more speed. We gotta get that lag and then we gotta release it. Well, I got a preview of a video that's gonna go over the #1 lag mistake I see. I see it time and time again, and some people are actually even taught this, that's gonna help your lag, when in reality, it hurts your lag. So I'm gonna have a preview of that video pop up here in a second. Go ahead and click the link that pops up on your screen or down below in the description. You'll be able to watch that entire video, get instant access to it. Plus you're gonna get instant access to 5 videos for my Top Speed Golf system. So good luck to you guys. I'll see you on that lag video. If you have any questions, post them in the comments below. click that thumbs up button. That really helps us to grow the channel, helps us to boost up these videos and keep more videos coming your way. And also remember to subscribe, that way you'll see our latest videos. Good luck to you guys. I'll see you in the lag video. Hi guys, and welcome back. I'm Clay Ballard, and in today's video we're going to talk about one of the absolute worst drills for creating lag. It's a very common drill that I see. And in this drill, what we're going to do is we're going to set the wrist very early to create an angle of lag, and then we're going to try to hold this throughout the swing. It's one of the worst things that you can do to build lag. I'm going to talk about the science behind why this is the case, and I'm also going to give you a great drill to help you improve your lag, all in this video. Let's go ahead and get started. If I do it this way versus holding that position, exact same thing happens when we're building the lag in the golf swing. So what we want to do is throughout the swing, I want to have a very low and wide takeaway. So I'm not going to set my wrist early at all. If you look at a lot of the top players, you look at Adam Scott, very wide takeaway, not very much wrist set at all. You look at Rory McIlroy, you look at Tiger Woods. All these players are using a wide takeaway and not getting very much wrist set, so that later in the swing, as we start down, we can increase this wrist set, and we're really only going to max out this angle of lag for a split second in the downswing. Okay, so a three-step drill here. Now, as we get started with this, I want to remind you that the fulcrum in this golf club for getting a massive amount of lag is right at the end of the golf club. This is where I want my hinge point to be. I want to use the full length of this club to build lag and then release lag.